Standing in this little museum on Bathurst Island, I'm very proud to say that we have recognised the part played by our Tiwi men during World War II. It gives me great joy to say to people in Australia, do you realise that it was here that the first Japanese prisoner of war was captured? Has it really been recognised? So as we put our little story together, we want the rest of the world to know that Bathurst Island stood beside you and protected you as the Japanese entered Australia on that morning of the 19th of February, many, many years ago. So to the Tiwis we say, well done, lest we forget. Today is the eve of the bombing of Darwin, but we here on Bathurst Island have our own anniversary of the bombing to think about. We had a man here called Mathias Ananura. But to get the story right, Father McGrath, MSc, had told the people that the Japs were coming. He did not know when, he did not know how, but he said for the safety of the people, you all go bush. So most of the people went to the far side of Melville Island. Some people stayed with Father McGrath here, but children and women all went across the strait. Mathias, Paddy, Clement, and a few other men, Paul Kiranayua was there, they were walking through the bush when suddenly they saw a man standing in the bush. Mathias said, be quiet, he's a prisoner, we've got to get him. So they waited until sundown and they crept up, and Mathias had a stick, and Mathias put the stick into the prisoner's back and said, stick him up. Then Mathias saw that inside his sock he had a gun. So Mathias took the gun and put it up a tree. It was a revolver. In the other sock, Mathias noted that there was a map and a cloth, so he took those as well. Later on, when he handed those over, that map was very important because that map depicted what they were going to bomb as they flew south. Louie Munkara was the father of Beatrice Kiranayua, a big connection with the Munkara family, and Louie has a great story of the wartime. Louie and his brothers were up on Melville Island and they were walking through the bush and Louie heard a noise. Louie told his brothers, be quiet, quiet. Louie turns his stick around like a gun. Louie marches forward and he sees on the ground a Japanese pilot's coat. He wonders, he whispers to his brothers, someone here. He finds a dead body. The person had taken his life. But he heard people talking, so he walked on and he found 3 Japanese airmen who had escaped, parachuted down from their plane when it was hit. So he lined them up and he sent Paul Kiranayua back to Father McGrath to tell Father he was bringing the prisoners in. So they marched the prisoners down from the top of Melville Island to Paru, and then they shipped them across in a canoe. Paul was at the helm and he paddled them across, and Father McGrath welcomed them, and Father McGrath fed them, and Louie got very angry. Why did he feed the enemy? So he said to Father McGrath, don't feed them, the enemy. And Father said, no, we feed them. And Louie said, Father, I got better idea. You got bullet? And Father said, Louie, what do you want the bullet for? Father, you give me one bullet, I give you 3 Japanese. And that was our Louie. And Louie was recognised in the war by the Australian government, and they called him Line 'em Up Louie. The first warning of the imminent enemy attack was given by Lieutenant John Gribble. He transmitted to the HMAS Coonawarra Darwin at 9:15 a.m, reporting a large number of aircraft. It was thought by a RAF intelligence officer that all aircraft was probably a squad of 11 P-40S, which had just taken off from a RAF base for Java, Indonesia. The second warning came from Father John McGrath, MSc, of the Bathurst Island Mission at 9:35 a.m. Father McGrath, MSc, reported to the WWII Darwin that an unusually large air formation was bearing down on the mission from the northwest. This message was passed on to the RAF operation, but nobody knows or will admit to what happened to that message. The third warning came from an outlying army post along the coast, north of Darwin. The first message was received at Major General Bake's headquarters only 7 minutes before the raid began. Anti-aircraft gun crew were drafted, but the air raid precaution was not. Thank you, Father McGrath, because you gave the message and you were never acknowledged. The stories told after World War II, the story regarding Brother Andrew Smith, an MSc religious brother. Brother Smith was from New Zealand. Brother Smith was very knowledgeable in the ways of seafaring, and government in Darwin realised that he knew the waters around between Bathurst, Melville, Timor, Darwin. So they asked could Brother help them. And one of the big things that Brother Smith did, in an old boat, he travelled around and he could relay messages of what he saw and what he... And in relaying those messages, he witnessed the bombing of the Don Isidore, the boat, the Filipino boat that was taking goods to the people and to the soldiers. So when he saw that ship bombed, he paddled out and he collected all 17, I think, of the ones who were left that didn't sink with the boat. They were burnt badly. They were very weak. So he brought them back to Bathurst Island Mission, where Father McGrath and himself nursed them back to health. So, Brother Andrew Smith, we salute you because you never you have never been recognised for what you did during World War II. This little story here, Mina Puntalura, the wife of Aloysius Puntalura, the mother of many boys, and she was a beautiful woman. She was told by Father McGrath to go bush, take the children bush. So she went bush, and she was breastfeeding Clarence, her son, in the bush under a tree, and she looked up and there was this Japanese pilot standing in front of her. And he was making signs with his hands. She was feeding the baby and he wanted water. He was thirsty. And she got a terrible fright, terrible. So she ran screaming into the bush. And the pilot didn't follow her. The pilot kept just standing still because he was wanting water. But Mina didn't realise that, so she ran into the bush to tell the people there's a strange man in the bush. She did not realise that he was Japanese and that the war had begun in Australia. What I really think that tomorrow, the anniversary, the Tiwi people should realise that they played a part in World War II, because beside Darwin, this is the only place where the Japanese were. And if we really, really think hard and study some of the past history, we would realise that the Japanese had been visiting the island and mapping out where they would go for many years before the war. So it was a planned attack. But thanks to Father McGrath for being alert and realised that the noise he heard in the air from the planes were not the noise of the planes that he knew about. It was a different noise. Thank you, Father McGrath, for alerting Australia, and we feel sad that you were not listened to, and we feel sad that you've never been given the recognition of alerting Australia that the Japs were going to invade.